Hello there, my name's Ray, I'm with Team S.T.E.A.M, and today I'm out behind Flash Industrial Painting in the sandblasting area, getting ready to strip down and sandblast the chassis of this 2006 379 Peterbilt that we're going to be doing from front all the way to the back. Now this truck's got a few things on the chassis we need to go ahead and remove. We've got this toolbox, we've got this grate right here, we've got this grate right here, we've got steps here on both sides, we've got these plastic fenders here on the back that we're going to be taking off of both sides. We got some lights we're going to be pulling off of it. Oh, hi Busy. We call her Busy for a reason. She helps with everything. We're going to pull these this license plate off of it, pull the mud flaps off of it. And when that's all done, I'm going to go ahead and blast this chassis, get it in the shop. So first thing in the morning, we can get started on the rest of the process. Now this chassis, as you can tell at a glance, isn't in too bad a shape. A lot of them that we do around here are in terrible shape. This one isn't too bad. So I'm going to be using used sand, and a lot of it I won't be taking the paint all the way off. A lot of it I'll just be abrading the paint with used sand. All right, it's been a couple hours. I got the blasting all done. I got the truck pulled in the shop, and like I normally do whenever I'm getting ready to do a truck that's got a stripe job that runs all the way down the side, while it was still at full air pressure, once I pulled it in the shop, before I ever shut the truck off, I went ahead and blocked up the back of the cab, put blocks between the back of the cab and the chassis on both sides. That way this stripe is as good and straight as it's ever going to be at normal operating air pressure. All right, so here it is the next morning. The boys will be here any minute, and like a lot of the trucks you see me do, one of the first things we're going to do is wipe this thing down with thinner. This may very well be the original paint job. I haven't looked that close, and it's metallic, and as you can see here, like here on the fender, it's kind of faded a little bit. And whenever that happens, the chances are sky high that at least one of the owners of this truck at one point or another has buffed the heck out of it trying to get that to subside. So I don't want any compound on this truck. I don't want anything messing it up. We're gonna wipe it down with thinner before we do anything else. We'll be taking off this cow catcher here and getting it out of my way. We won't be taking the mirrors off just because of this style of mirror down here on these lower brackets. A lot of times there's a good chance that these bolts will strip or they'll break, or what's behind these bolts won't turn loose of this mirror without actually breaking. It's a piece of cast that's not all that strong. So there's reasons why I don't take certain things off of certain trucks, and it's because of my vast amount of experience with these types of trucks and the parts that tend to break or cause you extra problems. And the mirrors aren't that close to the truck. They're not going to impede anything I'm doing, so we'll mask those up. We'll pull these air cleaners, and as far as the exhaust is concerned, we may or may not pull it off. I just have to see how well things are going to come loose. A lot of times with a truck that's this old with this many miles on it, a lot of times these things don't like to come loose, and this is almost 6 full inches from the truck. I can work with that. So I haven't decided whether or not we're going to pull the exhaust. We'll just see how that goes. We'll be pulling the headlights. We'll be pulling the visor. These fenders are going to be replaced, so we'll be pulling them as well. We won't be pulling this piece of stainless here because it's not hurting anything. We'll just mask it up. We won't be pulling these smaller plastic fenders. I already got the big ones off. We'll just mask around the whole entire wheel and tire and the fender as well. The boys will walk in any second, and we're burning daylight. So let's get to it. We're just getting the headlights off, getting it all taken apart. Well, we're getting it masked up, got it all taken apart. Went ahead and left the exhaust on it because none of those bolts wanted to come loose without breaking. Running into that a lot on some of these trucks that have seen a lot of corrosion. Got my brand new fenders down here, getting ready to unwrap them. They've been sitting here for almost a year because I keep a spare set of fiberglass fenders for a 379 on hand. Well, we got it all masked up, all taken apart and done. I'm going to go ahead and pull these fenders off here at this point. And now that I've got the fenders pulled off, I'm going to go ahead and mark out all the dents. This hood is basically hailed out, but far worse hail damage from about midpoint to the back. And that happens a lot with these trucks. And so I'm going to mark out all the dents and dings down here and basically sand everything from about midpoint up and start on some of this hail repair. I also have damage on both of these lower fairings on both sides that I need to take care of, and on the inside of the hood as well. What I mean by on the inside of the hood, So as you can see all those divots in there? A couple of them are worn actually all the way through. And what that's from is a combination of the hood being a hair too close to the cab, and also it's an air ride cab. So over the years, with the hood all the way closed, that flange on the back of the hood rides right here. And as you can see, it's actually worn into the fiberglass right here. And so you have the hood doing its certain amount of bouncing as it go down the highway and roads. And then you have the cab doing its amount of bouncing as you go down the highway and roads. And oftentimes enough throughout the years and all the accumulated miles, the two will connect with each other. And those rivets will dig into that flange. And eventually they'll dig into it far enough that they'll get all the way through it, or far enough through it that cracks will begin to form in that flange in the top of the hood. And then over time, those cracks will begin to grow. I've repaired cracks in these 379 hoods that were 4 or 5 inches down in the past, and I've never had one come back. I repair them on the backside with fiberglass and they never come back. And if you look real closely, you can see one right there. That one's probably an inch long right now, but it does need to be addressed. And the way that I'll address that is, I'm standing on the radiator right now, and this is the inside of the hood. I'll get up in there, and just above that patch, see that patch? That's a factory applied patch that I personally believe is there to keep those cracks from growing. But I don't know, I've never had that verified. And it's on both sides. And they place them in different locations on different trucks, and I don't think they do it on purpose. I've seen these 3-4 inches down. I've seen them right up under the lip. I think it's kind of a random assortment of how they end up in there. But what I'm going to do is, just above that patch, I'm going to get all of that metal roughed up with probably 24 grit, get it good and chewed up so it's prepped really well, and then I'm going to put a fiberglass patch over the top of it all the way along this entire edge of that little flange. All the way underneath that edge of that flange, I'm going to put a patch, and that's going to keep the existing cracks from growing and keep any other cracks from forming. And if you don't personally believe that you can use fiberglass to patch up and even sometimes strengthen aluminum sheeting, then that's your right. You can go ahead and believe whatever you want, but you're wrong. I've done this for a quarter century, and I've done this sort of repair many, many times, and I've never had one return. And I'm not working for companies that drop off a truck, come pick up the truck, and I never see them again. I'm working for companies that, a lot of them are local. A lot of times I see these trucks throughout the decades. As the decades go by, I see the trucks that I painted decades ago in their yards when I go to bid other trucks and things like that. And I check up on these repairs, and I've never had one crack back out. I've never had one return to my shop. I've never had one fail. All right, so as you can see, I've got it all prepped. I've got all the paint stripped off. I've got that lower patch stripped back as far as I need it to be, so I'm not trying to fiberglass over the top of it. And it's all ground out in 24 grit. And back here on the back of the chassis, I've just got an old piece of hardboard siding that I always use for just a temporary setup for a table for a station. And that's what I have here is my fiberglass station. Just have a piece of cardboard here, and a lot of my various fiberglass matting pieces. A couple cups to mix. Got my resin, got my hardener, got my spreader. I'm going to mix the resin with the hardener in the cup, put it down here, spread it out flat, put the fiberglass in it, spread it another layer over the top of that, and then once this board is full of them, I'm going to haul that over and place it underneath that flange right at the top of the hood. So there it is, tape free, stronger than it ever was when it was stock, and ready to go. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and get this hood sanded in all the spots that it needs to be and get going on this bodywork. And here I've got the first coat of bodywork put on and sanded back off of basically the entire hood and this one dent in the driver's side door. All right, I kind of forgot to turn my camera on here a little bit this afternoon, but I've got my white primer on the side, all the way down the side and around the back. And I've got my wet sanding primer on it. Finished up all my body work and got it in glazing. Sanded the glazing and then went ahead and got it in wet sanding primer. Got my white on, like I said. Now I'm getting ready to shoot some white paint. And so here it is the next morning, and this is all cured out. I'm going to go ahead and lay out the stripe scheme on this truck today. Get it all laid out in 1/4 inch vinyl tape or fine line tape. And then I'm going to re-sand and re-prep everything that the second color, which is a shade of gray, is going to go on, and get that color on all today. Now, typically when I do a custom stripe job, I'll start with the hood, and I'll do the hood on both sides, not only to get it out of the way, but that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the stripe job. That shows me where all my measurements need to be for the rest of the stripe job. So I finished the hood here on the driver's side, and I've also finished it on the passenger side. And now I'm going to go ahead and carry the stripes the rest of the way around the truck. And now I've got the stripe run all the way around the truck, around the back, all the way around the other side. Now I'm ready to go ahead and switch gears and get everything prepped and get the gray on this guy. But before I do, I'm probably going to go ahead and take out these 4 bolts that hold this reservoir in place and see if I can't scoot it back a few inches. It's awfully close to that truck. It's going to be hard to get any paint shot in there without getting runs or dry spray. Just like that, moved it back about 4 inches on both sides. Now I got enough room to do some stuff back here. So now I've reached the point where I've got everything all sanded down, everything all primed in gray, and the gray primer is sat long enough that I can go ahead and get some paint on. Well, it's the next morning. The boys are going to be in here any second. Today, we're going to go ahead and mask up everything that I painted yesterday so we can go ahead this afternoon and get all of the other things on this truck, the chassis, the rest of the hood, the cab, everything all prepped so we can get primed and painted in black today. Well, we're getting part of it done. As you can see, we're just getting part of the way through it here. And here's the driver's side part way through masking. And here we just about got it ready. Finish up this side of the hood and a few little things on the other side. Won't be long, we'll be on to the next task of getting everything ready to shoot black. Alright, well at this point we've got everything masked up, everything sanded, everything scratched. It's all blown off, ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and get some black primer on this. Alright, it's been primed, it's had plenty of time to sit. Now we're going to go ahead and paint this guy. right, it's the next morning now, and like every project that you ever see me do, the first thing I'm going to do is unmask these stripes before we do anything else, in case something goes wrong. That way we don't have to mask the whole truck back up again if I got to repaint something. Well, the initial unmasking went pretty well, so when the boys get here in a little bit, we're going to go ahead and finish unmasking everything else and go ahead and get this guy put together today. All right, we got her all put back together, turned the boys loose. Let's go ahead and walk around it and have a look. Here's this 06 Peterbilt before. And here it is after. All right, this is an 06 Peterbilt 379. When it showed up, it had a hailed out hood. We replaced the fenders entirely. They were both in bad shape and needed it. This truck had just gotten a sleeper conversion within the last year before we got a hold of it. So that all needed taken care of. I went ahead and moved this oil reservoir back quite a bit so we could do our work in there. As you can see, all the details are there. We got some good shine on it. Removed all this stuff here. Moved this this grate and this toolbox. Removed this grate. We didn't bother removing these air hoses because they are so tied together we would have just ended up stripping them out and possibly breaking the fittings. So we just masked them up instead. Removed the rear fenders. So the chassis all got sandblasted. All got thoroughly primed and painted. Took the steps off to do this job, so when we put them back on, they're over fresh paint. Left the exhaust on, but as I said all along, and as you can see, it made no difference. It didn't hinder the job at all. We could still do the stripes. We could still paint it. It didn't cost us anything. Left the mirrors on, again, didn't cost us anything. Turned out nice. It's a good looking truck. It'll turn some heads going down the highway. All right, well, that about does it for this guy. I got a couple smaller jobs I'm working on and an 01 Kenworth sitting out front that needs some attention. That's what we'll be doing next. If you want a little better look at some of the details of what goes on around here, come over and see me at Flash Industrial Painting at Facebook. And if you like this video, you should take the time to hit the like button because that's going to help me grow this channel. And if you want to see more videos like this or domestic auto body or art or gardening or any of the things we do around here, you might as well go ahead and subscribe because, you know, we always got something going on. We'll see you guys around.